Today we are going to discuss about hotel forecasting, which includes revenue forecasting, operating forecasting, and financial forecasting. So let's talk about revenue forecasting first. To forecast revenues, you have to understand basics. First, like budgeting, there are two kind of budgeting. One is like revenue budgeting. Other one is expenses budgeting. There are two parts. Like you have to design budgeting considering certain revenues in mind, and you can design budgets considering zero revenue in mind. Okay, so zero budgeting and with the revenue support budgeting. So you need to understand budget basic, how you are going to present or design budgets. So you need to understand basics before designing any budgets, revenue forecast specifically. What happens most of the time, we sit on the computer and design budgets without analyzing market conditions, down the line 6-month trends, what all big events are going to happen in the town. Okay, any VIP movements are there in the town, so accordingly dynamics are going to change. At the same time, you have to understand specifically in India there are multiple festivals. Each festival has got their own importance basically, and those festivals are going to support you in designing budgets, because there are certain festivals which give you revenue boost, and there are certain festivals which will reduce revenues. So you need to understand before designing budgets. Okay, now let's discuss about operating forecast. So you have revenues in mind, you need to understand basically operating expenses forecast, basically how you are going to operate hotel considering budgeted revenues basically. So you need to understand, we need to balance each other, otherwise you are not going to achieve any particular goal. So what you need to do is like after designing budgets or before designing budgets, you have to have studies in place which will give you basic ideas about expenses. What would be your manpower expenses, what you are going to spend in basic sales and marketing related expenses, what you are going to spend in advertisement, basically what would be your HLP, heat light power expenses. Okay, what is your expected food cost, what is your expected budget beverage cost. Okay, what is your expected manpower cost. Okay, so you need to understand, you need to design all those expenses before finalizing anything. So what happens is, you know your goal. To achieve that particular goal, you need basically operations support, and you need to go spend certain amount to achieve that particular goal. Okay, so both parameters needs to be balanced. Next, we are going to discuss about risk management. Forecasting any revenue expenses, you have to consider basically financial last minute shocks. Specifically, what happens is there are uncertain things comes, maybe those things we cannot avoid, natural calamities and all. So you need to consider those particular situations, and accordingly you have to plan out your spendings. You need to plan out your financials, you have to keep your certain amounts to make sure during worst situation you have fund in your hand. Okay, so when you designing budgets, you need to understand segments. Okay, suppose you are going to achieve certain budgets, you have to understand from where you are going to get that particular business, what all segments are going to contribute in achieving that particular budgets. So it's easier to understand and implement and brief your teammates, you are going to achieve this particular target. In this ways, we are going to target this particular segment. From each particular segment, you are going to get this percentage of business. Okay, this is done. So now you need to understand how you are going to repeat the business. You cannot hunt fresh bookings every time. So you have to make sure whoever comes to your hotel, they stays with you again in their near future visits. Whoever is dining in your restaurant, they are repeating in your restaurant. So to make sure you get repeat clients basically, so you have to plan out your operations accordingly. You have to make sure what your competitors are doing. Accordingly, you need to plan out. You have to one step ahead from your competitions. So what happens is, like, if you are following competition and then designing everything, so you are already one step behind. So planning has to be in advance. So what happens, you really don't struggle basically. While doing all those stuff, you need to understand importance of using technologies to implement all those activities. You have everything in place, but you don't know how to implement those particular activities with technical support. So what happens is, like, your manpower reduces if you have technical knowledge, if you know how you are going to implement those particular activity through technology basically. Okay. Suppose you are designing budgets, you're forecasting expenses, revenue budgets. Okay, you are forecasting your preventives. So you need to understand basically at what, suppose you have 1,000 people entering into hotel, what all facilities they are going to use. Okay, so accordingly you need to plan out. You can plan out your preventives basically. Suppose your one room out of 365 days, 300 days room is getting occupied. Okay, so you have to plan out your preventives considering your occupancy levels. You need to plan out your preventives considering your restaurant footfalls. There are multiple preventive maintenances required in the organizations. Okay, so this is the basics which we are going to cover today, and in next video we will discuss about preventive maintenance specifically in depth. Okay, so now it's we tried and cover basics, budgets, and how budget, what all aspects, what all things you need to understand before implementing and designing budgets. Okay, thank you.